Yolan True, and welcome to a new live stream. Oh no, that welcoming was for another channel. There you can see that I was filming today for some other channel as well. If you don't speak Romulan, have a nice day and welcome back to my live streams. I saw that Ellie already gave her menu card as well, and spaghetti is always good. And Ellie is not the only one already online. I saw the chat running already. So hi as well, CJ. Hi, Sock Juice. I almost said Spock Juice. This STFC channel. Hi, Roshin. And hi, Joao. It's nice to see you again. And it's Sunday again. And I'm glad that I could start in time because it almost gave me a technic shock here again, but I got everything working. And so hi Verti as well, and hi Roseanne. It's nice to have you here again. And today I hope you had better weather than we had, because until a few minutes ago I had a thunderstorm here. You would have heard that one, I can promise you that, because that was a really loud one. But it's over for the moment, and so I hope that we can have a little bit more of a quiet live stream. I hope you can hear me well. After the technical issues a few minutes ago, I am just checking. So let me know in the chat, please, that the sound is okay as well. And today I want to start with some fun stuff again. I mean, I talked about Boris Johnson's pool a while ago. I mean, even earlier I talked about Rishi Sunak's pool, but recently Boris Johnson's pool made the headline several times, because first the archaeologists stopped him from having his pool in the first place because they wanted to dig, and now he is kind of a problem that German newspapers here called Johnson versus Newt. So someone says that newts might be in danger if he builds his swimming pool on his new county estate there in Oxfordshire, where, by the way, I'm always thinking that he might be running in the next general election. So we will have to wait for that. But it's funny, and it's the northern crested newt, the Triturus cristatus. I have to say I had to look up that word, because that's nothing I usually use in English. In German it's Molch. So for my German viewers, it's Johnson versus Molche. And yeah, it's a funny thing that tons of MPs couldn't stop Boris Johnson, but newts can, obviously, at least for the time being at the moment. And they're obviously are very close to a location where they know that there are newts, and so that could be dangerous for them. And to do this, he will either have to relocate all the newts there if he wants his pool, or he has to create a new habitat for those animals on his gigantic property, because their current habitat is too close to the proposed swimming pool. And that's just a little fun story. I mean, did you ever have any problems that newts stopped you from building swimming pools? I haven't built a swimming pool in my life, so I don't know if any of you has. Anybody I overlooked? I'm just checking, not that I overlooked somebody. Oh, hi Stephen, and hi Chatty Rat. Haven't seen you earlier on the chat. So the newt problem just gave me a new look on. I mean, the older ones like me will remember a very influential American politician, and this story gave me a different look on that guy. I mean, some of you of my age or around my age will remember Newt Gingrich. He was quite influential in American politics, and a bit controversial as well. But his name was Newt Gingrich, and that tells me now so much more. I wish I would have known that this is the English word for Molch when he was in current politics. That would have explained so much to me. And yeah. I'm just thinking about, isn't the name of Scamander in the J.K. Rowling movies with the fantastic creatures as well, Newt? I mean, it would fit to him because he's working with the animals all the time. But nevertheless, from one fun thing to one less credible thing, the newts were just to get into the video and to start with something funny. But whatever happens to Boris Johnson seems to be funny most of the time. But something else happened where I don't think it's that funny anymore. It's more like irritating and making me angry sometimes. It's one of those Brexit benefits, which is none. Because the Brexit pub guarantee. Have you heard of the Brexit pub guarantee? That was launched by the Chancellor of the Exchequer formerly, and that means that pints and other drinks on tap in pubs will be up to 11 pence cheaper than their equivalents in the supermarkets. And that they are selling as a big Brexit benefit now. First of all, the beer wouldn't be that expensive as it is now without Brexit. That is not even partly helping against the inflation and the prices they have because of Brexit. And the other thing is, they could have done this without Brexit without any problem. So all reasonable experts there immediately asked when this was published, what does this have to do with Brexit? But they are trying to force now to find anything they can sell as a Brexit benefit. So, and they even put it in the name when they publish it. The Brexit pubs guarantee is no Brexit pubs guarantee. It's something they call Brexit pubs guarantee, and it's not even a pubs guarantee because all the companies from the beverage sector, from the pub sector, they all say this won't help at all. We never made more money when the beer got cheaper in the pubs. So they don't even agree on this move, and they absolutely don't agree on naming it something with Brexit. So it's just another smokescreen and trying to fool the people. Yeah, but the problem is if you could fool the people for now, what is it now? 8 years in a row by pretending stuff that doesn't exist. Of course they will continue trying. And this is just one more example for trying that stunt. There are no Brexit benefits. I mean, reading the comments under my videos, I know there are still a lot of people out there who will not believe me when I say this. But there are none. At least not for the UK. Some of my viewers from the continental Europe sometimes write it's a Brexit benefit that for the EU that Britain is not in the EU anymore because it's much less trouble. Though Poland and Hungary try to equalize the loss a bit. Yeah, they try to mitigate the loss a bit by doing some stunts like this themselves. But yeah, it's true. Of course, in the Commission, in the European Council, there's a little less trouble than there was with some British governments. But it's not a Brexit benefit. Brexit benefits no side, neither the UK nor the EU. Of course, there are a few Brexit winners. That's at least some of those who funded the Leave campaign and who assisted the Leave campaign, because I said it many times before, you can make money if a currency devaluates. You can make money if the economy goes down. There are a lot of ways on the stock market to do that. And of course, some people, some very rich elitist people there will have made millions, many millions with Brexit, but on the cost of the average citizen. And I just saw also that Luke has joined us. And I thought the Swiss internet was so much better than the German one. And you had internet issues. No, but now you're there. So the automated reminder worked. Nevertheless. Well, Roisin, a united Ireland would be a Brexit benefit. Yeah, but it would have, even to unite Ireland would have been easier if both were still in the EU. That's the point. With the demographics in Northern Ireland and the development of the demographics in Northern Ireland, someday there would have been a border poll. And with the children on one side being born much more than on the other side, we all know that someday there would have been a border poll pro-reunification. But if Ireland were to unite now, there would still be a big problem with those who wanted to stay in the UK and Northern Ireland and their relationship of a united Ireland with the UK, because of then there would be a hard border in the Irish Sea like everywhere else with the EU, and they would really feel this, and all exemptions we have now in the Northern Ireland Protocol would be gone after a new situation when there is no Northern Ireland like now as part of the UK anymore. And so it would make the things not easier if that happens now. It would still be a very heated situation, and it would be better if Ireland and the UK were in the EU when it comes to Irish unification. There would still be some very past-minded guys that will make trouble still, but it wouldn't heat up the situation as if it would happen while the UK is not in the EU. But some of the rejoiners recently, I saw a lot from rejoiners recently when we are at that topic already, they are taking the rejoining part a little bit too easy. I mean, I mentioned a lot of times also last week on the live stream that the UK would have to go through the 35 protocols again, and I said it in one of my videos this week as well. And the UK in the current state wouldn't make it through the 35 protocols for accession to the EU without legislative changes. The way it is right now, they wouldn't be allowed to rejoin. And everybody says rejoin because they were in once. But if they want to rejoin, it would mean that they have to do the same as everyone who joins. It's not that the UK could say today, oh, we want to go back in, and snap, we just ignore everything that happened. No, that will not happen. They will have to go through the whole 35 protocols again. This is, I had to mention that because I saw that in the discussion in comments as well. The steps of these 35 protocols are called negotiations. They are no negotiations in the terms like we had with the withdrawal agreement or the TCA. So the part who wants to join cannot say, hey, let's discuss this. No, the negotiations mean they talk about have they reached what the protocol demands. That's what they're discussing. Not any changes to that protocol or any exemptions from anything. This will not happen. Everybody who joins now, no matter if the country once was a member of the EU or not, will have to go through the same protocols, will have to fulfill the same protocols, and will have to accept the same conditions for joining. And because the parties in the UK never do this, so I obviously have to repeat this a lot in my videos. If the UK wants ever to rejoin the EU, they will have to accept all the rules there. And that means no Thatcher rebate. That is gone. With Brexit, that is gone. No sticking to the pound, because as soon as they fulfill the conditions for the euro, they have to take the euro. There is no opt-out. The only one with an opt-out will be Denmark in the future, because they were already there when those decisions were made, and that's why they got the opt-out. But no new member will get this. Some are dragging it down with their economy and their currency, that they don't fulfill everything to introduce the euro. But the UK wouldn't be able to do this if they want to stay as a strong economic country like this and like they were before Brexit. And okay, no, I was distracted, but I'm quite interested. What should I tell Phil, Ellie? So there is, of course, a delay here, so I will see that in a few seconds. But yeah, Verti, Sweden will at some point have to join the euro. You cannot drag that down. As I said, the UK wouldn't be able to drag that down so long, because as soon as they fulfill everything to get the euro, then they will have to get the euro and have to get into the euro. That's part of the rules, and that's part of the deal they signed when they joined. And I didn't have time to watch Phil's videos recently, but did he say that there would be the possibility for opt-outs for the UK if they want to rejoin? Then he will definitely doesn't have to hold his breath there, because that is a definite no-go. Because all the other ascension candidates, and despite what Brexiteers are saying about the EU falling apart, blah, 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 and nobody wants to be part of this, there are a lot of ascension candidates at the moment, and not least the Ukraine, for example. They all have to fulfill the same obligations. They have to sign the same deal. And none of them will have any understanding if the EU makes an exception for the British. That won't happen. And if my MEP would come around the corner with, oh yeah, we want the Brits back, we give them exemptions, I would tell him something. Because the EU is a group of equals. That you can see when there is the problem at sometimes, but when there is on the important stuff with the unanimous votes, and even there would be a unanimous vote needed for the Brits to rejoin. But there you can see that. Of course, they are different in sizes, economies, and whatever. But when there is a vote in the council, there is one vote for one country. And that is the point. So Germany does have the maximum number of MEPs in the European Parliament because we are so many. But in Parliament, of course, it's the same here in Germany in our second chamber. It's about population, how many seats you have in that chamber as a state. And so the same will be the case in the European Parliament. But in the European Council, every country has one vote, no matter how big the population, no matter how strong the economy. Luxembourg has the same voting power in the European Council as Germany. And that's what I meant with a group of equals. And so nobody will accept that if somebody else joins, that they have different rules than they when they join. And I just saw Luke asked what the Thatcher rebate was. That was something that Thatcher negotiated during her time as Prime Minister. The UK was a net contributor to the EU, but got a lot of money back immediately, plus all the money that was invested in the agricultural sector and in projects and stuff like in all other EU countries. But they had a special deal that they would get parts of that money back. That already made this bus with the red bus with the 350 million a week a complete joke, because that was the gross amount that the UK paid to the EU. And they ignored the rebate, they ignored all the money that was flowing from the EU then back into the UK, and not to mention the money the country has made by being a member of the EU. We see now what happens if you're not a member of the EU. And so that made the bus a bigger joke. But there were a lot of, in Germany we say extra Wurst for the British at that time. And that will not be again. Joining means accepting the rules. And that's why I am repeating that so often on my channel, because neither side, not Labour doesn't say anything about this. They don't want to talk about rejoining. They want to don't want to join the single market or the customs union after the next election. We know all this stuff, why they are talking like this. But when people talk about rejoining, and I know there's a big rejoin group in the UK, of course, and a lot of people now believe Brexit is a mistake, and there is a majority for rejoining. But as it was with the first referendum, if there ever is a second, and I know I'm repeating myself here every time, the people need to know the truth, what rejoining would mean. Rejoining would mean joining with the same rules as everybody else. The time with the cherry picking and the extra Wurst for the British is over. They threw that away with Brexit. They had a lot of special treatment, which I always thought was wrong, but there were political reasons for that one, in a smaller EU. But nowadays, they will not get this. And they could look at Poland and Hungary, what happens if you don't obey the rules. They are lacking a lot of money at the moment. Oh, Maggie, first of all, good evening, and thank you very much for your contribution. Brexit is like steam not paying for energy anymore. Yeah, a little bit. That is... Energy is another topic I have to talk about tonight as well, by the way, so thank you for the introduction here. Now, Brexit is a complete failure, and Brexit was a bad idea from the start. It was sold with tons of lies, and now we are back at the Brexit pubs guarantee. They seriously, they want to still want to sell this, and that's why I have to repeat that as well. I'm so angry at Labour at the moment. Just for the sake of winning, and they are not the only ones doing that, but just for the sake of winning, they are lying. They are saying they want to make Brexit work. If you don't find some fairy out there, and I don't need one from Soho, with a very powerful wand, you will not make Brexit work. And yeah, I know from my personal experience that there are a lot of very shiny and very colorful fairies in Soho. Spent a lot of time there. It was a great place at my time. There was even, I heard that they closed later, but there was a great club called GAY, and I saw a lot of great performances there. A lot of stars was there, but just, I know I'm slipping away from the topic again, but that was a great time in London, and first to be in the bar, getting the pass to get into the club, and then being in the club and seeing all these great stars was a great time. And I spent time on the weekends there. I loved it, and so that's I have a lot of very good memories on the UK, but some things you saw with Brexit you could see at that time already. I said this because I used the bad words here as an example already on former live streams and videos. But with some British you could see those xenophobia a bit. But I was at my time it was better because there were more people that liked to be in contact with international groups and so on. And I think that a lot has changed there, and it got a lot worse. So I miss this old time now. It's not 20, 30 years ago, but still, I'm back for quite some time. And so it was a very nice time there. So I like the British in general. I like the UK. I like to live there at the time. And I still have a lot of friends there. As I said last week, someone was visiting again, and soon some others will visit again. So, but something changed in the mood there ahead of the referendum and after the referendum especially. And so I do not really recognize that country anymore than I did when I was living there. And Verti, thanks for your contribution. UK will not be allowed to join the euro. Well, yeah, they will. If they will be allowed to rejoin the European Union, they also will be allowed to join the euro, because they will have to make quite some changes to what's going on there now. Believe me, if they ever rejoin, they will have the euro in the end. That will be the case, because there's no way around this then. And yeah, the xenophobia part is what bothers me the most. But at least there are some good news for us at one point, where the British are fortunately working with the European countries and the USA together at the moment. And I have to make a small detour to the Ukraine war here, because there's one positive thing, because they're working together here. And finally, something really had an effect that the British, the Americans, and the Europeans were doing together, because they're now bad news for the Kremlin. Because according to the British government and the professional part, I mean, the price cap on Russian oil is having an effect. And because the International Energy Agency is saying in June alone there was a drop in revenue of around 10 billion US dollars. So in 1 month already there was a drop in revenue of around 10 billion dollars, and that is a lot of money missing in his war chest. And that is why it's good that there is some cooperation. And of course, when you know this, you also know why Michel Barnier brought up the topic again of a defense and security cooperation between the UK and the EU. You know that Michel Barnier was the chief negotiator of the European Union, as well as in the withdrawal agreement, as well as for the TCA. And he always wanted to negotiate a defense and security agreement between the EU and the UK at the time again as well. And Boris Johnson didn't want that. And now Michel Barnier has made some interviews in international magazines, but also here in Germany in a big magazine. And he brought that topic up again, because especially now with the Ukraine war, he says it's even more important, and you don't have to be a member of the European Union to have a defense and security agreement with the European Union. And so seeing that the cooperation in the area, especially around the Ukraine war, is working, that is a thing that they really need to consider. And the UK is still a bit wobbly there. But international cooperation is important everywhere. For example, as well, there was now some new reports of war crimes in Sudan, and the USA, Great Britain and Norway have called on those parties to end the hostilities immediately, and to keep up the rules of the humanitarian law, because especially in the Darfur region, there's the widespread use of sexualized violence, for example. And so they want to protect the civilian population. And the British, Norway, and the USA together gave a statement here. And sometimes I have to click on my screen as well, because I also see the advertising here. But nevertheless, there a bit more structured cooperation would be helpful here. But Betty, what did you do? Oh, I shouldn't have clicked that word. You have to watch your words, Verti. I pressed the wrong button because of that word. YouTube blocked it. Or Nightbot blocked it. Nightbot and YouTube both don't like the word. Haha. Do you mean McGuinness? Nevertheless, where was I? I easily get distracted at the moment. At the same time, well, at least I got away from the Star Trek stuff I started the video with. Although I really like it. Strange New Worlds, the second season is out at the moment, and I'm watching it whenever I can to do some research for my other channels. And there's supposed to be some fun stuff I haven't seen yet. At least some people in my alliance told me today on our chat. And they seem to go some ways there I usually don't expect on a series like that. But nevertheless, I have to stick with Brexit and the UK here on this live chat a bit. I'm still I'm not the technical genius here, and that reminds me, Luke, I will have to ask you a little bit soon, because I'm still looking to manage to get a live stream out there as well from time to time, but getting the game and my OBS fixed together and so on, it's a little bit more complicated than what I'm doing here today. And so I'm not so sure yet if that will work. But I will see if I can manage that. So, but there we'll definitely not talk about Brexit. But Brexit is not the only thing I had to talk about a lot recently on this channel. And that was, for example, Suella Braverman. When I say Suella Braverman, you immediately know migrants, trafficking, small boats, and the Sleeve Channel, the Ärmelkanal. Yeah, I know the thing going on there. Because now the UK wants to work with internet platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to stop the boats. And that is something that Rishi Sunak said, and that the PA news agency brought out. So I don't think if this will work. Their plan is that those platforms should remove all posts that offer discounts for groups or free places for children and false documents. That will definitely happen over those channels, but they even have problems with dealing with that, with what they are supposed to deal with at the moment. So you will never stop that. I'm still not on Facebook, by the way, because those idiots, I informed them about the hacker attack. They kicked me out like Platform X, when it still was called Twitter, and YouTube did. But Facebook has such a crap support system that you can send whatever you want. So I'm not on Facebook anymore, and I will not be on Facebook anymore, because I got rid of them, because I'm not dealing with that nonsense anymore. They've got the worst support ever, and they are too stupid to deal with stuff like this. So I will not be on Facebook again, and I'm not there. So that's why I deleted it from my video description. So if you watch a very old one or an older one where still is Facebook in it, ignore it. I'm not on Facebook anymore. They're too stupid to deal with hacker attacks. YouTube was great. You know how long I was offline, but of course it takes a little bit until they have researched and until they have processed everything. But they were doing a good job here, and Twitter as well. That was the easiest thing to get Twitter sorted again. I had to delete a lot of nonsense, but it was very easy to sort that. But just Facebook is complete crap here. So I will not deal with that anymore. I mean, there are less and less people on Facebook anyway. So, but I'll just ignore that. I use other platforms. I don't need Facebook. And if they are not able to have a good support like the others have, it's their bad. But nevertheless, especially Facebook will not be able to do what Rishi Sunak wants, to stop those small boats. And I don't think that this will really work. And I don't think that this is the main source for the people coming. There's much more on the ground going on in information and everything, how they get their information. There's what we call whispered talk going on, and that's how they get the information. That will not stop very much. I mean, last year it was 45,000 people come in those boats. This year so far, I guess it's 15,000. So it's not that many anyway. They are always blowing the whole affair up compared to people coming to other countries or coming to Britain in other ways because they need them. It's such a small number that it's not even that a big deal, to be honest. It's just pushed up and blown up as a political thing because they need these enemies. You always need some enemy you can paint for your voters if you're working with populistic methods. And those Tories are definitely working with populist methods. That brings me to the AfD in a second again. And they might reduce it with their deal with France, that the French finally have more border guards there, etc. But the traffic has always find ways around because a lot of people will still come with trucks or whatever. But nevertheless, this is not a really big number compared to other European countries and how many refugees are arriving there. So it's just a blown up thing. But this populist thing, we had several weekends of AfD congresses here where they're meeting, or conventions, where they are meeting to elect their members or their candidates for the European Parliament next year, and their manifesto. And as I said, they were discussing leaving the EU. I mean, talking about shooting in one's own foot, if Germany would leave the EU, I talked about Brexit in one of my videos this week. That would be devastating for Germany. If Brexit is going wrong for the British, Brexit would be a catastrophe for Germany and the EU, by the way, but most of all for the Germans. That would be the biggest mistake ever. And that's something else about those populist parties, where people don't really think about what the politics is, what their manifestos say. If you look at those manifestos, there's a lot of stuff in there that is so either harming the own economy or creating problems. They are as well the only ones that want to make referendums on tons of things. We have seen in Britain, the Brexit referendum was the prime example why in my whole time I was always against federal referenda, especially binding referenda, because they are so easily to be manipulated, and you cannot answer a complicated topic or a question on a complicated topic with a simple yes or no. And we have a lot of people here in Germany as well that are demanding this, and that's why the AfD is putting that in their manifesto for quite some time already. But it would be a huge mistake. The Swiss, I know, have a long tradition on doing this, but all Swiss, please excuse me now. But there was a different growing up of the Swiss people over the centuries. You cannot just push some people into something brand new and say that's how it's working. We have the problem, and I'm not one of those guys making the big difference usually, but we have this problem in Eastern Germany. The socialization of the people in Eastern Germany after the Second World War was completely different to the ones in West Germany. That's why there were a lot of mistakes made during reunification on that part. There were others have been made there as well, but on the democracy part, we have a problem in Western Germany that people don't learn enough about democracy. Seriously. I gave the example a lot of times already that a lot of people who voted for me don't even know what they voted for, except that's me or my party in other cases. But the plenary they are voting for, they have no clue what it's doing. And the structures and everything, the people don't learn enough. Oh, now it's the fire brigade here going out, so the thunderstorm must have done a little bit. And in East Germany, they were not at all used to democracy. Everybody who grew up there during the time of the GDR, of course they went to a vote, but they all knew what they were expected to vote for. And it's the same with if you vote in North Korea or in the GDR, it was not a big difference. And you couldn't say what you want. The Stasi was watching everything. If you were expressing yourself too freely, you knew what would happen. And that is something we're suffering from at the moment still. And they have no binding to the traditional parties in Germany. That's why the AfD has it so easy there. People don't identify themselves with the traditional parties we had in the middle of the democratic spectrum. And that's why it's much easier there. That's why their ratings in Eastern Germany are much higher. But this is not a problem of the Eastern Germans. I say this. It's a problem of working against this lack of knowledge, this lack of experience that would have been needed to be done in schools, etc. But that's why I say it would be a big mistake to just throw in something like referenda on the people, especially people that is just informing themselves on the headlines on TikTok, Instagram, or whatever, and then let them decide on complicated stuff. That would be a fatal mistake. And the Brexit referendum is just the biggest exercise of using the manipulations of such a referendum. And the Brexit referendum exactly showed why I was always against having them here in Germany. We have them on the local level under very strict rules. You have to get a lot of support to get one of those started. We had two in my hometown, and I always voted for the losing side, but that's not the point why I'm against them. But there are very high hurdles. And even in these two referenda we had here, local referenda, I always thought putting these questions down to a simple yes and no doesn't do justice to the topic either. And so I really think it would be a big mistake to do that in Germany. And you know that I'm saying the Scottish people should have a say on the topic of independence, although I'm not a friend of referenda. But that's the only way to do it in the UK. It should be a thing for the Scottish Parliament to do, but they can't do that just like that. And usually you would have an election. We are pro-independence. We are against independence, and if a majority for independence wins in Parliament that the Parliament can decide for independence. But that's not the way it's technically working there. And so we can't do this. So you need this referendum if London will ever allow it. And that's the only reason why I'm saying that they should be granted the chance for another referendum after this very changed situation after Brexit. And usually it's not the optimal way to deal with things. And in the EU, we're not doing the same. And first of all, some people are always saying there should be referenda in every EU country if the Britons ever want to rejoin. No. There's another thing about the sovereignty of the member states. Every member state has their own way of voting on big changes in the EU. In some places, there are referenda, but that's the choice of the member state. In Germany, we don't have this. That's what we have parliaments for. We are representative democracy. I vote for a party, so they represent my will. And that's why it's, with all the solutions you can have, democracy is never ideal, but it's the best solution from my point of view to have a representative democracy, especially with the votes on proportional representation. Then you get the most representation in Parliament, and not so many people are left out. But that's the best we can do. And from my point of view, this is the best version that can be done. Referenda, you know my stand on them, are not very ideal because people will... Well, I have a member of parliament, especially when they are specialists. Every member of parliament is a specialist for something in parliament, at least in our fractions. And they are dealing with this complicated topics every day. And that's what they are there for. There are a lot of topics I have no clue about. And I want the professionals that are representing us there to deal with it and to get into the thinnest detail there, down to the core of the things. And that's why parliaments are always so empty when you see them on TV. First of all, they are sitting in committees at the same time, because when there's a plenary session at the same time, there are tons of committees. Because in the plenary session are usually those, if it's not a general session, they are usually those who are the experts for it. It makes no sense that somebody who has no clue of the topic sits around there, not doing his work, and listens to people who are specialists for a certain topic. And that's why Parliament always looks so empty in the most cases here in Germany. But they have to work on their topics, and that's the important part. And I want people who really know what they are talking about to make the decisions. I cannot decide for myself on a lot of those topics because I'm not into depth into this topic. I wouldn't be able to make a proper decision on that. And then you want the whole people to make a decision on a complicated topic where a mere fraction of them, not even a percent, understands that topic. And that's why I'm so against referenda in those cases. I'm for participation, yes, but not binding referenda. That would be a fatal and wrong way. But now I'm talking a lot about referenda again. And I had a little bit more to talk about, by the way. And Mugi, I quickly saw your comment with Switzerland. Was that agreeing one, or do you think the Swiss are not doing that well with their referenda? But there are some news that are not all connected to Brexit, but still, because I lived there, that are not really nice and have to do with the cost of living crisis, because the situation with housing in London got really bad. I mean, it was not easy when I was living in London because the rents were high. A lot of people were sharing flats as well and so on because of the prices. But now we got the information that nowadays 2% of the Londoners are homeless. And among the homeless are tens of thousands of children. And that means that 170,000 people in London alone are homeless. And this is from a report by the umbrella organization of the local district administrations, the local councils in the British capital. So it's not the Express or whatever. It is the local councils that are publishing this number. And that's about every 50th of the 8.8 million inhabitants in London. And among those 170,000 are 83,000 children, according to the report. And this is based on figures that were collected in the spring there. And 170,000 people, they're not all out on the street. A lot of them are living with friends or relatives or whatever, but they don't have their own flat house, whatever you want to say. And that is a devastating number. And that is another thing in the cost of living crisis, because a lot of people either, you know the thing with heating or eating from the winter. And this is another big issue here. And whoever is in the next government, I mean, this government definitely doesn't want to do anything real about this, has to do something for the people with low wages. And I'm quite sure that not all of those 170,000 are unemployed. A lot of people with jobs there, but they cannot afford housing in London. And that is a really bad thing. And those numbers, that they grew to such an extent, is getting a really big problem. But whenever we hear the government, they are talking about a lot, but not those people who are really in need. And that's why I understand why many say we need labor, and why many say at the moment we need a government that is doing more for the poorer and so on. There I can understand them all with Labour. With Labour, I'm just always angry at the moment about their Brexit stance. But of course, after seeing these Tories, which have, although usually you know that I'm a conservative and they would be our brothers, so to speak, in a normal world, if they were the normal Tories. But those Tories I see there are so right-wing extremists nowadays, and so neoliberal that I have no clue how people with very low wages can deal with that. My friends over there are in the luxurious position that the couples both have jobs, the kids have jobs, and they can do with these situations. But I can imagine a lot of people not being able to cope with that, and those numbers are saying the same. And that I need for later. That too. Give me 1 second, because that's what I was looking for. That with this topic of the lot of homeless in London, there's a very interesting thing this week. That I found this week at least, by a guy Singh Watson. I don't know if you have heard from him, because some people say ordinary citizens fear tax increases, but it's said that guy Singh Watson is actually calling for them. He's an entrepreneur, and his farm turns over £100 million a year. And he wants to give more of it for the common good. And together with a group of 40 British millionaires, he is calling on the British government to expand income tax on capital wealth, but also close tax loopholes and abolish the inheritance allowance. And all in all, Singh Watson says it could add more than £50 billion to the state coffers. And we all know they urgently would need the money, because Brexit and the pandemic have made the poor part of the population even poorer than they were before. And they need more support from the taxpayer, which they don't get from the government at the moment. And so I thought in this combination that was really interesting. We know, and we could see this with the homeless, that the people are not doing really well, especially low-income people, or if you want to call them poorer people. But there are millionaires out there that want to pay more, and that is something that is quite interesting. And I don't know, people from the UK here, what they would say about this, but probably none of my viewers has that kind of income as those guys that say they want to pay more. But I cannot end Brexit livecast without Jacob Rees-Mogg this week, because I talked about Barnier gave a lot of interviews at the moment. And one of them who answered to Michel Barnier was Jacob Rees-Mogg, so JRM. Yeah, outspoken Brexiteer, we all know this. And to Barnier's claim that Brussels was seeking ambitious provisions on the movement of people as well, Jacob Rees-Mogg said, such a move in exchange for a trade deal would be completely improper. But the fun part really is why he said that. So, at a speech in Hanover, Barnier said that agreement on the issue, there could be also some relationships as well. And Rees-Mogg said it earlier as well, but I read it this week again. That he said it again, that letting more EU Europeans in would be racist. And that's what I found this week again. I know he said that during the negotiations already, but he said this somewhere again this week. I couldn't find where he said it this week again, but I wasn't surprised that he would do that. So letting in more EU Europeans would be racist. But that's just something I want to quickly mention. I talked about the UK CA mark already this week in a video, so I don't want to go there again as well. But I want to end with some funny stuff from Scotland. And I don't think they mean it for fun. You already definitely will know the Loch Ness Monster. And obviously they are starting a search again in Scotland for the Loch Ness Monster again. I mean, they are saying that's the largest search for the legendary monster since the 1970s. So there will be a surface search on August 26th and 27th, and they would also use drones to take thermal images of the lake. And the waters have never been searched in this way, they say. But there's some tourist center there that is starting all of this, and then we know why they're doing this. But they say fellow seekers should look out for movements in the water. And this Loch Ness Center said it was the largest search since the 70s, of course, but the center is the old hotel there. I will not even try to pronounce the name of this hotel. I can only go wrong. But that was the hotel where the manager Aldi Mackay reported in 1933 that he had found Nessie in the loch there. And that, of course, sparked worldwide interests. And since then, there were hundreds of eyewitness accounts. And over the years, suspicions have been raised that the monster could have been a plesiosaurus, that's a prehistoric marine reptile, or that it could be some giant eels or swimming circus elephants. But nevertheless, it's quite fun that in the summer, and what we always call here the summer hole, although the summer holidays ended in my state yesterday, that they are bringing this stuff up. But still in August they will start another search. I mean, if they ever find something, we will see. But so far they haven't found anything. But of course, This is a tourist thing. I mean, in a lot of places, the summer holidays are still on, and so of course they can have some fun and perhaps can lure some people there. It must be a very beautiful sight there. So I didn't have the occasion to go to Scotland yet, and I probably will when after. No, I'm not saying that now. But I can imagine that it's quite beautiful there, especially around Loch Ness, and people will have fun with doing that. But it's nice that they are restarting this in the summer now, and I picked this that to. I just realized I put JRM and the Loch Ness Monster close together. Maybe remembering the JRM in Parliament when he was lying on the benches there. Well, I just imagined him swimming in the loch and being mistaken with Nessie. Was JRM alive in 1933? I mean, he always behaves as if he was alive in 1633, but I don't know, or whatever that came from. Nevertheless, I hope that our Scottish friends have a lot of fun there when they are searching for Nessie again. I have a lot of fun with thinking about this. Yeah, saure Gurkenzeit, Ellie, that's true when they try to find everything as well. Yeah, Jacob Rees-Mogg. Swedish. Yeah, but Swedish are quite good in the Eurovision Song Contest. I just saw some Americans reacting on the explanation of what is the Eurovision Song Contest, and it was quite fun. And most fun was one American was explaining it, another one was reacting on it, and the one explaining it was saying the Americans should never take part there. They would be hated and just be like the weird cousin that is invited to a party by just a guest and not the host, and everybody's ignoring him. Was quite a fun thing. But I do like the Eurovision Song Contest. I'm listening to a playlist at the moment when I'm en route with all the German contestants from the last one down to 1956. Sometimes it's nice to go back in time a bit and remind you of what was there. But you must never forget the present. And so tomorrow morning I will be sitting on my computer again, writing scripts for the videos for Thursday. But nevertheless, there is a video, of course, tomorrow morning and tomorrow evening. Sunday evenings there is no video, but a live stream. Next Sunday, I hope I can make one, but that depends on what's happening to me on Saturday, because in the summer there's always what we call we call stuff like christening, but it's like the hitting a boat with a bottle or something. No, there's the christening of the Princess Guard of one of my carnival clubs next Saturday, and I will have to see in what situation I am on Sunday after that, because that I'm one of those who will not only get wet from the outside but also from the inside, and that stuff is supposed to be strong tobacco, let's put it that way. And I hope I will be fine on Sunday, but I cannot promise anything yet. But I will try my best, even if it will be a shorter one or if my voice will be gone. We will see. But just be curious in what situation I will be. Nevertheless, I thank you for joining me again on the live stream. I wish you a very nice Sunday evening. Of course, tomorrow morning there will be my next video. Don't forget to, I cannot skip that. I have to do it for at least once. To visit me on my new channel, because it's going really well over there. So you should come over definitely and have a look. And Nightbot is very slow today, I see. And thank you all for joining me. And Nightbot is really slow today. And I fixed it last week, everything was working. I love it. Nevertheless, in the video description you find the link as well. So just come over to Outside Views STFC, especially you, CJ, and have a look what I'm doing there with Star Trek. And see you tomorrow morning, and have a nice Sunday. And it will definitely take a second again until it stops. We all know this.